Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And welcome to episode 367.
Yeah!
Hey, Doctor Who listener, I hope you're all keeping well and safe. We hope you've had a cracking week and that you've all managed to do something Doctor Who related. I see some of you have done Doctor Who things. So a certain retailer started posting out the Hartnell box set a bit early.
Yeah, naughty, very naughty.
Very naughty.
Sending that out early.
Oh dear. I looked at a few tweets, and I saw some people had posted the image and I thought, that's not real. Somebody's messing about there. But it is. Apparently here in the UK, the retailer Zavvi just had 0 Fs given over the last couple of days. And they're like, look, I'm not being funny, but Christmas is coming up. Deliveries are getting busy. And we literally just do not have enough room in the warehouse for Doctor Who stuff. So can you please get it out, get it gone? Don't care if it's early. So yeah, season 2 of the collection. I ordered mine from Amazon, dude. I don't know about you, but mine's not arriving until next week, the 10th, apparently. Next Saturday.
No, I ordered mine from HMV. I always use HMV. I'm not a big fan of Amazon, to be honest. But mine hasn't been dispatched yet. So it's funny because when people get it early, it always sort of makes me laugh when on the Monday, the day of release, when people get theirs and they'll tweet, finally, in great big letters, finally mine's turned up. And I'm like, it's not supposed to be out till today. It's just annoying that people get it earlier. You feel like you're so behind then, don't you? You're like, come on, waiting by the letterbox.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could have done with it, mate. I've been stuck at home with COVID for the last week. I was just thinking, God, it would have been a perfect week to have the Blu-ray set. I could have really dived into it this week.
Get the violins out. Here we go.
Well, please, if you could. Yeah, if you could.
It looks like a good set as well, bud, this one. It does. Doesn't it? Yeah. And it is, normally we don't comment on that stuff because sometimes you have retailers. We used to order a lot from, are they still going? Is it zoom.co.uk?
Oh, I think they're called, they are still going.
Yeah,
they changed hands or something.
Yeah, but something happened with them anyway. And we used to order from those guys and 9 times out of 10 we'd get it early. Usually the day before it was due to release. But Zavvi have really pulled the trigger early on this one. This is a whole week, over a week early, so that's quite unusual. Yeah.
It's funny actually because there's someone who works in retail. I used to work for HMV as well, and I get quite annoyed about it because we're so strict. We play the game fairly. Like, the release dates are there for a reason, so that everyone puts them on the shelf the same day. And we were as staff, we're never allowed to buy them before they're actually out. So you'd get something a week in advance, like the Doctor Who set. And it would be up in the the stock room there. It's like, no, you can't have it till Monday. You're not allowed to take that home till Monday when it's out. And I'm like, yeah. So it kind of annoys me when I see companies send them out. It's great for people who get them early. I mean, I love it when mine arrives early, but it is, it's not supposed to be. It's like it's one of those things. And it used to be so strict. You used to get fined and all sorts, but it seems like nowadays no one gives a beep.
Yeah, it's true. The retailers do have the power, though. They have immense power, especially some of the smaller independent shops as well. It's a bit of a tangent, but I remember years ago, any gamers who are listening will know about this, but years ago, before you bought games digitally, you bought them obviously on disc like you do films and stuff. And I remember when Halo 3 was going to drop, and I had pre-ordered it from, I can't remember where, and I went into this the town I used to live in, there was a very small independent video game shop. They mainly sold retro games and stuff, but they also had the newer titles, the bigger ones when they came in. And I was in there about 5 days before it was due to release. And I was reasonably good friends with the guy who ran it. And he said, do you want a copy now? because I've had them in I've personally had them in for the last 2 or 3 days. They're not out until next weekend, but if you want one, you can have one. And I was like, I can't really spend it, because I had ordered, I think it was like a special edition version at the time from this other retailer, so I wanted to stick with that. He just had the standard version, but the retailers, dude, they have the power, and we don't even know it. I'd imagine that all of the retailers have had these box sets in for a couple of weeks already, just sitting there, which is annoying. But yeah, because I want to watch it.
I think it's because, as soon as you scan it, it's sort of registered as a sale, so they have to be a bit careful. Where I don't know how Zavvi get around it. They probably just say, we got to get these posted out because of the postal strikes. Yeah, admin error. Yeah, but it does give them an unfair advantage, because then obviously word gets around. Oh, you got yours early from Zavvi. I think I'll order from them next time. And then so H&V has stood back, thinking, hang on a minute, we're playing by the rules, and Zavvi is sending them out early, and now everyone's going to use them, aren't they? It's it does niggle me as someone who works in retail. I have to be honest. I mean, as I said, great for those of us that get it early. We love it, but
bit cheeky.
It's cheeky,
yeah.
very cheeky.
Anyway, listener, if you've got your season 2 box set, enjoy.
Yeah, we have reported you. And
no spoilers though. That's the. Do you know what I did? I don't mind if people have got their sets early. All good, fair play. But please don't start sticking all the stuff from the behind the scenes, mainly all over socials and stuff. We want to see that fresh,
I am looking. So it should actually be out. So it is actually out Monday, isn't it, officially? So we should have it next week, which would be nice.
Yes.
It looks, actually, just lastly on it looks huge as well. So I saw a picture of someone's put it next to, they're like, oh, I've filled that gap and I've put it next to the other sets, and the spine looks really thick. I'm like, wow, it looks like a beast of a set, this one.
Mm-hmm. It does, yeah. So once this one's out, how many sets have they released in total then? Will this be number 7? Or number...
no, more than that. I think we're about halfway through now, aren't we? I think we're about...
No, I can't. There's not more than 10 been released, has there? Maybe then.
This is the number 11, maybe. Right. I'm not sure.
So, approximately halfway there then.
Well, yeah, we're getting there. Yeah. Not quick enough, in my opinion, but we're getting there. Yeah.
I wonder if they'll do a special edition McGann Doctor Who movie to finish it all up with.
Surely.
Because that's not had the... I know that's been upscaled before on Blu-ray, but it's not had the proper treatment with all the new special features and everything, has it? So
no, who's got the... Because they haven't got the original... It's never been transferred from the original film elements, is it? Who's got the film elements and won't let them go? Is it Fox or something?
I'm not sure. It's some Canadian studio, I believe. Yeah.
Just hand them over, guys. We need that in pristine quality.
Yeah.
Not recorded from somebody's VHS tape from the 90s.
Yeah, hand them over. Doctor Who's big business now.
Yeah. But yes, I'm hoping for a McGann set, or like a, what do they call it? Like a Wilderness Years set or something.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah,
that would be nice.
Even if they did just a little slim version that's in the same colour scheme, get Lee Binding to do some artwork for it, and that'd be cool.
Yes.
Yes. Anyway, have you done anything Doctor Who-y, bud, over the last week?
No, not really, surprisingly. I mean, considering I haven't been able to leave the house, get that violin out again.
There we go.
No, I haven't really done much Doctor Who related. I've been going through and watching loads of old classic films. I don't know if it's just a thing of being ill and needing like a comfort sort of thing. But I watched, do you remember The Black Hole, the Disney film?
Oh, that film, that's classic, dude. I love
classic,
the soundtrack,
isn't it?
To that, yeah.
It's quite dark. Oh, the soundtrack's brilliant. Yeah. Well, I saw some toys at the film fair a couple of weeks back, and I thought, oh, you never see any Black Hole merch ever. And I used to have all the figures, of course, and all the models, and it just made me want to watch it. And I was like, oh, fire up the old Disney Plus and see if it's on there. Of course it is. It's a Disney film. So yeah, so I watched that, and it was just as wonderfully nostalgic and great as I remembered it. It's so trippy at the end. Do you remember the end bit? Not that I'm going to ruin it for anyone, but it's so trippy, isn't it? Yeah, and quite dark. So I watched that, and my friend of mine is a massive Buffy fan, and I've never watched a single episode of Buffy, and I feel like I should. You ever yeah, I know. Have you seen Buffy?
Mate, I was a teenager back when Buffy was landing, so
It explains a lot.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Buffy. Yeah,
I could just see you with your Sarah Michelle Gellar poster up. So I watched a couple of episodes of Buffy because I thought, right, that's on. I think that's Disney as well, or on one of them. Let's get that going. Let's get into that. So I'm trying to be sort of diving into things that I feel like I should watch or should have watched in my lifetime. Maybe it's because I'm ill. I think I'm getting to the end. Like, come on, quick, get these things watched before you.
I won't see the morning, so I better get all this stuff.
Yeah, feeling sorry for myself on the sofa. Let him sit Buffy, and so I've just been watching stuff like that, and I felt like watching some classic Who, but I couldn't decide on anything, if that makes sense. I've been very like I sit there and I was like, what do I feel like tonight? I feel like a bit of McCoy, and then I was like, but I've watched Delta and Paradise and all that so much, and okay, let me think of something, and I just couldn't think of what I wanted to watch, so I would, because the TV's on and it's all at the tip of fingertips, I just put on what was on the TV. But how are you doing with your marathon? Your Doctor Who marathon? Yeah,
not too bad. As in, I haven't watched any more.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've been off this week from the old day job.
Say you had a week off.
Yeah, but I've been doing other stuffs. I had to do a load of stuff that I put off for a few weeks around the house and all that jazz. So, yes, my mind's been on other stuff, and I've been watching some other bits and pieces. So I will resume, though. Not to worry. I will resume. But yeah, no Doctor Who stuff for me this week, bud.
No. Get the black hole on, mate. Honestly, it's so
black hole.
Great.
Yeah, I remember hunting. I remember a few years ago thinking, I had this strange thought in my head that I'd start collecting the black hole toys because some of them are quite rare, and if you can track them down, especially boxed, they're pretty good. I think the Vincent and Bob little droid toys, they're like a dime a dozen. There's loads of them, but the Maximilian figure boxed, if you can find that, one, that's a good one to have. And some of them come with a little stand as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I don't mind the black hole, dude. It was it's a bit of a forgotten gem, really. Not many people know about it or talk about it.
It is. Apparently it was a huge flop back in the day, which surprises me because I loved it as a kid. I remember going to the cinema with my parents to see it. I think we went a few times. I definitely watched that a few times over the years. And the model work and stuff in it is so brilliant. It's weird because there are so many things that are great about it, but there are so many things that are cringe about it. It's a real, they got so much right.
Yeah.
But they got so many things wrong. But it's quite adult as well, isn't it?
It is a bit, yeah.
But then the dialogue's so cheesy and kiddie. It's a real mishmash of tones. But I loved rewatching that, mate. It's on Disney Plus. Get it on, listeners. If you haven't watched The Black Hole, go and watch it. It's brilliant. It's
strange. It's got a charm to it. It's a little bit like Blake Seven, in my opinion. It's like the film, not the film version of Blake Seven, but in terms of it's the smaller brother to some of the bigger sci-fi films that were successful around the time. And I always associate Blake Seven with that. Apologies, you and Blake Seven fans, but I always associate that with being the sort of smaller, in terms of popularity and whatever you class as successful, I guess, back then. The smaller brother to the bigger sci-fi things like Doctor Who and other things. So, but it's definitely one of those Sunday afternoon, stick an old movie on. Yeah, it's cool.
It's perfect for that, yeah.
Yeah. Alrighty. I've not done anything else. You haven't done anything else. We're going to stop waffling. Before we crack on we've got one bit of news to go through before we crack on with that. Yeah, and then on to our review. Oh, we go. Have we?
Have we got some news?
Pro podcasting, Doctor Who listener. As always. Before we crack on with that, one bit of news, Adam, and then our review of the 10th Doctor two-parter, Stolen Earth and Journey's End. Make sure you are following or subscribing in your podcast app of choice to this very podcast so you won't miss an episode when it lands every single Saturday. You can listen for free on all of those podcast apps, or head over to the website and listen in your browser, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can also check out all of the cool reviews and articles and whatnot from our amazing writing team as well over there. We're on the socials too. Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Links are on the website. Come and chat Doctor Who throughout the week. And we have a very cool Discord server, which is also free. A link on the website. Hop in there and chat Doctor Who with lots of other cool Doctor Who fans. Indeed. Also, don't forget to remember
you swine.
To check out Adam's YouTube channel. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and I've got a new video out today. Well, hopefully. I've spent 2 weeks editing this blimmin' thing, so please go and watch it. It's a video of the London Film Comic Con where I met David and Jodie. So that should be out today.
Nice.
If I can get my act together.
Very nice. So go and check that out. The Geek's Handbag over on YouTube, and Adam's on the socials under the same name. So go and give him a little stalky follow and view. And yeah, and Adam also chats not just Doctor Who, but lots of cool stuff.
Indeed.
Lots of cool stuff throughout the week. So go and do that. Alrighty. Why don't we hop in the old TARDIS and see what this news is about. So the bit of news that Adam missed is that Doctor Who is in the Guinness World Records for a second time. Well, I'm not sure if this is the second time or more, but it's another entry for Doctor Who in the Guinness World Records. And this is for the longest gap between TV appearances of an actor playing a television character, which is now held by the legend that is William Russell.
Yes.
Which is amazing. So obviously, as you all know, the companion, Ian Chesterton, that character. So Russell played Chesterton in the very first episode of Doctor Who. This is history that you all know, but I'll recap you. So Doctor Who, 1963, Ian Chesterton was the companion there. And he stayed with the series for the following 18 months, 2 years, and appeared in 77 episodes. And then his last appearance was the Planet of Decision, which was the final chapter or the final episode of the Chase story, which went out on the 26th of June 1965, so a couple of years there. Then fast forward in time to The Power of the Doctor, which screened on the 23rd of October this year, which means the gap between his last appearance and this one was 57 years and 120 days.
Oh my God.
Which is crazy. The previous record holder was Philip Lowry, which was the returning role of Dennis Tanner in Coronation Street, which was 43 years. So Ian Chesterton completely blows that one out the water, which is great. So Doctor Who already has entries in the Guinness World Records, including the most consecutive sci-fi TV episodes ever, with 871 so far. And then in 2016, Capaldi accepted the Guinness World Records title for the largest gathering of people dressed as Doctor Who characters at the Le Mall Comic Con in Mexico City. I remember that. That was cool.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, yeah, another entry for Doctor Who. I think we just own the Guinness World Records first.
They should just hand it over, really, shouldn't they?
For science fiction television, Doctor Who all over it. So what a legend, dude. Ian Chesterton, still rocking and rolling. Is he 97 now? I think
97. Why is it taking so long, mate? I mean, he should have been in the 50th. I think was the perfect time to bring Ian back, and Susan. Don't know what the mothball was thinking, but yeah, isn't that awesome? Lovely guy as well, William Russell. Really lovely man. Yeah, so cool. And the little picture that the official Doctor Who peeps put out for this is very cool. It's got him in his I assume a behind the scenes pic of the very first episode, where, because I'm pretty sure he's wearing that suit that we see in An Unearthly Child, where he's at the desk and he's got his physics bottles and the microscope, and it's him as the teacher before he goes off as a companion. And then the second image underneath that is him in The Power of the Doctor when they have that sort of companion therapy group thing, and he's got his little name badge on and a similar suit. So what an awesome thing. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Cool.
Absolutely brilliant.
So we are. The Guinness World Records, Doctor Who pretty much just owning science fiction there. So good. Radio, dude. On to our review. What we got?
Yeah, so it's a Tennant two-parter this week, and we're doing Journey's End. Well, Stolen Earth, Journey's End.
The United Nations have issued an edict asking the citizens of the world not to panic.
The picture is far bigger than you imagine. The whole universe is in outrage, Doctor. 24 worlds have been taken from the sky.
How many?
Right, now we're in trouble. It's only just beginning.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are at war. Martha, get out of there.
I can't, Jack. I've got a job to do.
They're targeting military bases and you're next on the list.
Oh, my God.
What is it? What are they?
What are we going to do? It's impossible. It can't be.
I'm sorry. We're dead.
Doctor, come back!
The ending approaches.
planets and stars will become dust, and the dust will become atoms, and the atoms will become nothing. And the wavelength will continue, breaking through the rift at the heart of the Medusa Cascade into every dimension, every parallel, every single corner of creation. This is my ultimate victory, Doctor. The destruction of reality itself!
And the dust will become atoms.
He's going a bit mad there, like, calm down.
Yeah, went for it. Yeah. Okay, so Journey's End, the first part, The Stolen Earth, the first part in this two-parter was out on the 28th of June 2008. This was 45 minutes long. It was directed by Graham Harper, written by RTD, and the second part, Journey's End, was out on the 5th of July, and that was 63 minutes, so just over an hour, and that was also directed by Graham Harper and written by RTD, and stars a very, very big principal cast, this one, obviously, because it brought all the elements together from Torchwood and Sarah Jane, etc. So we have David Tennant, Catherine Tate, Billie Piper, Freema, Ageman, John Barrowman, Elizabeth Sladen, and then a bunch of other people who support that, so like Eve Miles, Gareth David Lloyd, Thomas Knight, Bernard Cribbins, all the peeps basically from Doctor Who over the last few years up to that point, and its spin-offs. So it was kind of like a big crossover, big event thingy. And the synopsis for these ones are, so for The Stolen Earth, when Earth and 26 other planets are stolen and taken to the Medusa Cascade and the Doctor is nowhere in sight, it's up to the combined forces of UNIT, Torchwood, Sarah Jane and Rose to fight off the thieves who have only got one thing to say to the Resistance: exterminate. And then the synopsis for Journey's End is: all hell has broken loose. I love that. All hell has broken loose. Humanity is threatened with global annihilation as Davros and the new Dalek Empire, prepare to detonate a bomb that will wipe out all of existence. The 10th Doctor is helpless and the TARDIS faces destruction. The only hope lies with the Doctor's companions, the quote-unquote children of time. But Dalek Khan predicts that one will die.
One will die.
I flew into the
I love Dalek Khan, and I know you do too.
He's amazing, isn't he? Anyways, right. What are your thoughts on this two-parter, dude, off the bat? Hit us.
I would just love to have every time we go down the pub, I just would love to have Dalek Khan in the corner of the pub there. There'll be a fight. Something will get shown. Right. This two-parter. I think it's a kind of an epic, high octane, throw everything, including the kitchen sink, in. And I really enjoyed rewatching this. It's not one I go back to that often, surprisingly, and I don't know about you, but it's also one that I don't think gets talked about that often, considering how epic and big a final it is. It's not one that comes up much in conversations that I have. I don't know about you. It seems to just sort of get tucked away. But I thought it was an enjoyable watch. It is, it's full on. It's got everything going on in it. Storyline wise, it's okay. It's not the strongest story, but it's definitely a two-parter that's got some absolutely lovely moments in it. And the music's great, the cast are great. I mean, it's a hell of a cast. Just love the fact that RTD's just decided to really go all in and bring everybody in. So you've got Sarah Jane, you've got Torchwood, Unit, Martha, just anyone that's been sort of a big part of his era is just thrown into the mix. And it does work for me for the most part. I mean, I think generally they all get something to do. And it's got the most amazing cliffhanger. I can still, to this day, love the build-up to the bit where the Doctor gets shot by the Dalek and starts to regenerate. I mean, back in the day when I first watched that, I just couldn't imagine. That was such a long wait till the next episode. I was like, oh my God, what is going to happen? Are we actually going to get a new Doctor? How's he going to get out of this. Like, it was an incredible cliffhanger, and so well done as well. The music building, him running towards Rose, it's a moment that I just love watching over and over again. So yeah, it's not by any means perfect, this two-parter, but it's certainly, in my opinion, very enjoyable. I really enjoyed watching it again last night, both parts. So I would say I enjoyed them equally as well. It's not one where the first part was really good and then the second one falls flat. For me, both parts were pretty solid overall. So I liked it. Yeah. What do you reckon? Good. Yes, I loved watching this one, Bud. And I think,
oh,
good.
Yeah, I think you're right in that it often gets overlooked because Mr. Tennant, etc., and some other peeps had an equally as epic two-parter in The End of Time, parts 1 and 2. So I think that's the one that gets talked about the most, you know, when you're talking about two-part finales in RTD's era and all that stuff. So yeah, it does get overshadowed a wee bit, but to its detriment really, because it's a very, very well paced two-parter in my opinion, even though it's a long run time, especially part 2, which is just over an hour. But when you couple in the 45 minutes before and you watch them both together, which is what I did last night, one after the other, you're essentially watching a really long feature film of Doctor Who. So despite that, though, it's paced really well. It doesn't peak early. It doesn't give you all the things. It doesn't it doesn't bombard you with stuff. It just keeps you sort of simmering away with these little peaks every now and then that cliffhanger at the end of part 1. I can only imagine that when people were watching this live as it went out on Saturday night, was it Saturday night? I can't remember. I think so.
I think so, yeah.
Let me just, the 28th of June, I don't know what day that was, but anyway, whatever day that was, live, people were just like open-mouthed at the end. It's like, is that the end of David Tennant? We've got another part to go. He's now going to regenerate. This is the new Doctor. So it really left you, and I think that's why we didn't get a next time trailer at the end of this one, because they wanted to keep people just guessing and, you know, what was going on. So that was nuts. And and I think, like you said, the overall plot and everything is not perfect by any means, and in some places it's a little bit thin. But I think Davros being back is a big one for me. I absolutely loved Julian Bleach as Davros, and then he just, like that in the trailer you just heard, he just goes over the top, but in a good way. You know, he properly freaks out a couple of times, and especially at the end when the Doctor and everyone buggers off in the TARDIS and he's screaming at him. He's like, "I blame you, the destroyer of worlds," and everything. You know, he's just so good. That was a high point for me. And obviously Dalek Khan, we love Dalek Khan. And but also just the on paper, I think you could easily view this as very fragmented, because you have the companions that are off at some points doing, like Martha, she's quite isolated for some of it or most of it.
Yeah.
And then it's only really when they go up to the Dalek ship where you have Captain Jack and Sarah Jane and then together, Rose together, and then later on Rose's mum turns up with Mickey and stuff. So that's when they all kind of get together. But it doesn't feel fragmented though. It feels like they're all, like you said, they all have enough to do. There isn't any standing around with hands in pockets moments for any of them. They all have stuff to do. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, mate. It sort of transformed me back to those moments where I picked up the box sets for the first time, the DVD box sets of these early series, when I was going through my journey into Doctor Who, and I'd finished the Eccleston stuff, and then I was going through the Tennant stuff, and it just reminded me of, it was very nostalgic, even though it wasn't decades ago. It was still, for me, it was probably, I don't know, sort of 8 years ago now, maybe 8-9 years ago. So it did feel very nostalgic to me when the box set had turned up, and I just binged it throughout the whole day and had many, many cups of tea and snacks, and was just enjoying that moment of Doctor Who, that culmination of Series 4. So yeah, it was amazing to watch, actually. And it, not just because it's a very well written, well paced two-parter where it has got a lot of epic stuff going on, but I don't know, it just feels, I know that a lot of people will challenge this, but to me it does feel like the best era of Doctor Who since 2005. This whole series 4, and then leading into the specials and stuff. It was so good, so good, mate.
Yeah, no, I'd echo that. I mean, I definitely get like a nice warm glow watching this. There's something about it. It's the music, and the Doctor Donna are such a good pairing. I mean, Catherine Tate is phenomenal in this. She's if anything, she is the. I mean, Tennant's great in it, but she is the absolute star of this for me, in amongst a lot of stars. I mean, like you said, Julian Bleach is also superb as Davros. I mean, he really just fills that role perfectly. You know, like you said, the insane madness that he builds up to towards the end is absolutely, you know, bang on. And it's, yeah, like you said, he is going over the top, but it's not too much. You know, it's absolutely Davros. It's, you know, it would have been easy to get that performance wrong. He's superbly cast as Davros. I remember the excitement as well, because I think we got teasers of him coming out the shadows, but they kept it very short in the teaser trailers. So there was a rumour that Davros was coming back at the time, and you could just see something coming out of the shadows. And I was like, that's got to be Davros. Everyone says Davros is coming back. It's got to be. And I just was so pleased when he finally shoots out into the spotlight in the actual episode. I was like, oh my, yes! Because, I mean, I love Davros. And I think for the most, I mean, I think he's plays it brilliantly. The only thing that slightly irks me about the story is that I'm not very keen on this fact that Davros is like in the basement and the Doctor says he's like the Daleks' pet. I prefer it when Davros is like back in full force and leading the Daleks, but I guess it gives it a different dynamic because they're just being a bit cautious with him, aren't they? So he's sort of being kept at arm's length by the rest of the Daleks, so I guess that's okay. But yeah, I was never really overly happy about the whole Dalek's pet thing, because I just, you know, I think Davros just deserves to be centre stage. But that aside, I think he's brilliant in it, and he's just revels in the fact that he's finally got the Doctor where he wants him to be. And in a way, Dalek Khan is like Davros's pet, isn't he? He's like, you know, giving him all this information, and it's like a sort of like a naughty school kid at the end, Dalek Khan, isn't he? Where he's like, I lied, and he's like, I got one over on you, Dad, sort of thing. Yeah, so it does work in that sense, but it's, yeah, there are so many nice moments in this. You talk about the pacing as well. It's full on. Like, from the minute the Doctor steps out the TARDIS at the start, the music's banging and we're straight into the story. It follows more or less straight on from Turn Left, doesn't it? So in a way, you could have it as a 3-part.
Oh, yeah, true. But
yeah, so it kicks straight off into the action, and it doesn't really let up. I mean, there was no point in this 2-parter where I felt bored in the slightest, you know. There's no moment where it dips or becomes dull at all. There is always something going on screen that's engaging. And so many nice returning characters. Like, I just want to mention this so that I don't forget Harriet Jones. That's a moment that always sticks out for me, where she sacrifices herself. And I remember at the time just being so pleased that she was back. I'm like, yeah, Harriet Jones. And the you know, the rolling joke of "we know who you are," even the Daleks say it, which is the sort of thing that, I don't know, might get a groan from some people, but I find that quite funny. Yes, we know who you are. So, you know, but so there's so many great moments. I mean, I haven't got much negative to say about this at all, really. And I know it does come in for a bit of flack. I think some people do find criticisms with it, but I agree with you. It to me, it just feels I get a very nice warm glow from this, you know, and I love the fact that we get Torchwood back and Sarah Jane in the main show. That, again, at the time was such a big deal for me. I can't remember if it was the Next Time trailer or when I first saw that they were going to be in it. I think it was. Was there a trailer at the end of Turn Left?
There was, yep.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I do remember seeing some sort of trailer before the episode where we saw Torchwood and Sarah Jane and just being open-mouthed, thinking like, you know, OMG, what the hell's going on? This looks unbelievable. And it is a lot to live up to when you get a trailer like that. And for me, it succeeds. They handle it really, really well, I think. So, yeah, I just, kind of gushing over it a little bit. I just felt a very nice glow after I finished watching this last night. Yeah,
same. Yeah. I want to talk about the Daleks just quickly, and the story plot, if you like, because that's the crux of the story, is that the Daleks are very cleverly taken Earth and another 26 other planets and just shifted them out of time just a little bit by a split second or a second, I think the Doctor says, which is a great thing. that's not. I don't think that's been done in Doctor Who before.
No, I don't
So
think
that was very cool, and their overall motive, I guess, is just to destroy all life within the universe. I think with this reality bomb thing, and there was some. The thing I did like about this with the Daleks, how they were portrayed, and was that it wasn't just a very black or white, cut and dry thing. It wasn't just the Daleks, and they wanted to either capture the Doctor or destroy the Doctor, and then destroy, all life in the universe and stuff. It wasn't just that. We had this kind of layer of hierarchy within the Daleks, which was very cool. So we had Davros, obviously, wasn't in charge of what was going on, but he kind of was in a way. He was there in the background, scientifically, manipulating things that were going on with this reality bomb and so on. But that everything was kind of driven by, for the first time since Remembrance, the Supreme Dalek, the dude in the big red casing with the gold and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then you obviously had Dalek Khan, who, as Davros explained, had flew into the time vortex and had seen, time itself and all of its intricacies and turned him, doolally and stuff. So he's there as almost like this prophet, if you like. He's prophesizing these future events and what's going to happen with the Daleks themselves and the Doctor and the companions, which they've labelled as the children of time, and that they're going to stand up to them, while the Doctor's captured, all that stuff. So that part of it I really did like, because it would have been really easy just to, like I said, have the Daleks just be the Daleks and no hierarchy. So what do you think to those guys in the story and their kind of overall big plan for this reality bomb and so on?
Yeah, no, it's really good actually, isn't it? Because it does make the Daleks more interesting by doing that, because I must admit we've seen the Daleks so much, and I think they have been so overused since the show returned. There's no two ways about it. So yeah, it does make the story more interesting. Otherwise it is just Daleks going around like they are for the other Daleks are in the story, just going around shooting people on the streets and stuff like that. So by giving a couple of Daleks characters, if you like, if you want to put it like that, it definitely enhances the Dalek story rather than being just Daleks again. So yeah, I like that. And you mentioned the Children of Time there. I also surprised that the RTD didn't call this the Children of Time, because it's mentioned a few times throughout the story. It sounds like the perfect title for it, doesn't it? Doctor Who, the Children of Time. And that's one of my favourite bits with Davros, actually, is when he points out to the Doctor, like, I've shown you your real self. I thought that was a great piece of writing. And all the flashbacks to all the people the Doctor's lost in his name, just to force the Doctor to stand there helpless and think about those people that have sacrificed themselves in his name, I thought was very powerful and a real great piece of writing. And it sort of brings that home a little bit, because not only does the Doctor try not to think about that, I think the viewer just glosses over it as well. So it kind of makes the viewer sit back and think, blimey, hate to say it, but Davros has got a point. It's a harsh reality for the Doctor to face, and I think it does add an extra layer of darkness to Tennant's Doctor, which has always been there. And I just love that scene. I think it's brilliantly written and brilliantly played as well. Tennant looks destroyed at that point, and Davros is reveling in the fact that he's the one to point it out to him. So. Yeah, but yes, going back to Daleks, mate, I think Dalek Khan and is he called the Supreme Dalek, the big red? Yeah. Big red. I mean, he looks great as well. And I was thinking it's such a nice big red Dalek. It's such a nice, easy. They've just sort of put a few big extra bits on him. It's like it's not a massive redesign, but it's such an effective redesign of. It just makes him look more powerful and big, I think, and also he's shot very low down, isn't he? So he looks really impressive as well. So. Yeah, I like those guys. I like the big Dalek and Khan and Davros. They're just very interested together. Three very different characterizations.
Yes. Yeah. No, that was cool. And so Julian Bleach then was just amazing as Davros. And because I think there's whenever you do this in TV or films where you have an actor that's portraying a character that's already been and gone from a long time ago. How do you approach that? Do you try and do a carbon copy of the actor that played that character before, or do you try and put your own little spin on it a little bit? Or so I think this was the best of both for me. This was the best of both worlds, because you can tell without a shadow of a doubt, obviously, that it's Davros. The design that they've gone for and everything is mostly there. They've changed how his eyes look and some of the little wires that are coming out of his head and that stuff. So, but that's okay though, because you can tell that this is a Davros that has been in the background unbeknownst to the Doctor for however many thousands or hundreds of years. So you would expect him to have moved on physically a little bit anyway. And of course, when he takes, undoes his jacket, you can see that he's used part of his own body to, so that was gross, but very cool. So, but also Julian Bleach does this thing where he's taking into consideration the previous Davros from the classic era, but he's kind of giving it his own little, he's more forceful at times. So even when we saw Davros kick off before, things like Genesis, he wasn't as foaming at the mouth, I guess is the best way to put it, as Julian Bleach does it. So yeah, he was very, very cool. And I love the scenes with him and the Doctor that you mentioned, when he really kind of stumps the Doctor a little bit. So the Doctor doesn't like the fact that all of the people that he's been involved with, unfortunately, a portion of them have died while either helping him or they've got in the way, unfortunately, that sort of thing. So the Doctor doesn't like that. He's probably like, I know that, but I don't want to be told that. That was the expression that David Tennant had at that time. It was that sort of crippling feeling that, beep, you're right, but so yeah, that was amazing. And it kind of leads on to the 4 specials that we had after this, right? So you mentioned that because of that scene, it played into sort of the darker element of the Doctor's character, and that's exactly what we see. Not so much in that Christmassy one that came up next. Yeah, not so much in that, but definitely in the 3 after that. We had that Time Lord victorious kind of, I'm the Doctor, I can do whatever the hell I want. If I want to save people, I'll do that. If I want to alter time and alter circumstances, and I'll do that. He's got that kind of darkness to him. So that was kind of, when you think back on it now and when you watch this one, you realise that was a real clever move by Russell T Davies, because that was almost very, very subtly a springboard into that very darker Tennant Doctor in those specials. So yeah, that was cool. That whole scene on the Dalek ship when Davros has his number and, and does all that stuff was amazing. And
those are my favourite bits when you just get the Doctor and Davros together, because that's what I like about the character of Davros, is he's a clever character underneath all the evil scheming. He's intelligent, and I like it when the writers understand that about Davros and don't just write him as the creator of the Daleks. There's a lot more to him. He's always got stuff going on, because my favourite scene in Genesis of the Daleks is the bit where him and the Doctor just sit and chat. So we kind of get that a little bit here as well, albeit that the Doctor is trapped and has no choice but to listen to Davros. But again, what Davros is saying makes perfect sense. And I do like the redesign. Just to quickly go back to what you're saying, I think they've managed to just tweak Davros enough without changing him too much. So he's got like the metal hand and stuff like that, but it's unmistakably the Davros that we know and love in looks and performance.
Yes, yeah. What did you think let's talk about some of because the main driving force then behind this, outside of Davros and the Daleks and stuff, was the absolute ride or die mentality of the Doctor's companions. So each and every one of them doesn't even question anything. The only thing that we really get in terms of, did you think that there was going to be some apprehension from them, was you could tell that a couple of them had moved on since the Doctor, and now they've got other priorities in their life. It's not just, I want to run around with the Doctor again and be a companion. So the best example of that is Sarah Jane. So now she's got Luke to consider, and that's evident in when they first hear that radio broadcast come down from the Dalek ships to everyone, and it just said exterminate. Sarah Jane's crying and she's like, oh no, he's only young. She says she knows that if they don't do something, he's probably going to die because the Daleks are going to wipe everyone out. And then at the very end, when the Doctor lands the TARDIS in that park and he's saying goodbye to a couple of people, she doesn't hang around. She just gives him a hug and then she legs off. She's like, I've got to get back to Luke. He's only 15 or 14, whatever. So you could tell that was the only sort of little bit that wasn't, I want to be with the Doctor again. And then the other one was Mickey. So when Mickey comes out of the TARDIS at the end, he's like, oh, I know how this works. I'm not going to be around for any of this, and certainly Rose is not going to be here. So, I'm going to go off and little fist pump with the Doctor, and that's it, and he's off. Yeah. So everyone else, though, and even like Gwen and Yanto and Torchwood and everybody, no question. It's like the Doctor needs help. We're all in it. So that was cool how all the companions, because sometimes, especially that we've seen in the companions in the Chibnall era, especially the last series, we've seen this thing with the companions where some of them are not bothered, it feels like. So we had when Dan at the beginning of The Power of the Doctor is just like, I'm not down for this anymore. Yeah. I'll see you later. And then the way that he wrote Tosin Cole's character, he didn't even come back for anything. So the Chibnall era to me is that some of the companions have been written to be a bit wishy-washy, whereas in the RTD era it was just no, they're all there for the Doctor, no questions asked. So companions wise, they really, and a lot of people now call this like the Avengers of the Doctor Who thing, because it's got that big crossover event, like Infinity War and Endgame and stuff. It's got all this kind of crossover thing where everyone's in, the gang together and they're fighting this big sort of enemy that's threatening the universe. It's got that kind of thing. So really it was like the Avengers before the Avengers, I guess, is the best way to put it. So what did you think to Sarah Jane and Luke then? So Luke's not really in it, but Sarah Jane's down for it. And regardless of what program you're watching, you always get the fanfare for Mr. Smith.
But she actually pulls him up on it this time. I love it. She says what I've been saying for years, like, just skip the fanfare, Mr. Smith. We haven't got time. Like, we always joked about that, didn't we? When we're watching it, it's like, God, does he always have to do it? So I love the fact that she actually says that for the first time and only time. I mean, the thing is, I think it's great that it shows how the Doctor has sort of almost without knowing it shaped all of their lives in some way. Like, he's such a big part of their lives. They know exactly what the deal is, and he's influenced them in a way that they've gone on to do all the things that they're doing. And it's all kind of in a way related back to the Doctor. And I also like the fact that Davros recognises Sarah. So there's a nice little callback there, isn't there, to like Genesis of the Daleks, like, you were there at the beginning of my creation, and she remembers him, obviously. So yes, there's some real nice little threads tied together in this between the Doctor and the companions and Davros, and just the whole history of the show. Really lovely little threads that if you don't know them, it doesn't matter, but if you do, it's a really nice little thing to sort of notice.
Yes,
if you like.
Yeah, she was very cool as well. Obviously, Liz Sladen. Like we said when we reviewed all the SJA episodes, was it last year? And just consistently amazing as Sarah Jane. She never ever changes course or tries to do something different with a character. It's just always Sarah Jane. She's just amazing. So.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you said it was like the Infinity War there. I mean, it does make me feel like this was just came at the right time. Like, you said earlier that this sort of feels like sort of peak Who in a sense. And I just sort of think everything just came together well in this, in the sense that you couldn't have done it earlier on in the season. Tennant was leaving, so it wouldn't have happened later. It's kind of like right in the peak of, we've got Torchwood and Sarah Jane spin-offs going, I assume. I mean, I get very muddled in the timeline of things in real life. I can't remember what series of Torchwood was going on when this was shown, or what series of Sarah Jane we're up to here. But they're obviously already on screen, those series. So you've got this wonderful Doctor Who universe that's living a life outside of Doctor Who, and Russell pulls them all in together to be in this episode, this Doctor Who story. And I think, it's just the absolute right time. You couldn't do it any other time. I think it's perfect. It's like, right, Torchwood's going nicely, Sarah Jane's going well. Let's bring him into Doctor Who for this 2-parter, and then we'll let them go again, and they can carry on being their own thing. And it's just, it's just like perfect timing for all of that, really.
Yeah. So in terms of timelines and stuff like that, you had the Sarah Jane Adventures Series 1.
So we're on Series 1. Okay, wow.
Yep. And then you had Torchwood Series 2.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had Doctor Who Series 4. This stuff.
Yeah.
Then you had the Sarah Jane Adventures Series 2. And then after that you had the start of the special, so the Next Doctor and all that stuff. And then after that first special, Planet of the Dead, you had Torchwood Children of Earth. Then you had Sarah Jane Adventures Series 3, then The Waters of Mars, then The End of Time, Parts 1 and 2. So it's kind of nestled in between the second series of Sarah Jane and Torchwood around that time.
Lovely, just mentioning all that Children of Earth, isn't that a lovely bubble of Doctor Who universe right there?
Yeah.
Nice.
And let's not forget, it was fairly busy around that time period. A lot of people think it was fairly linear and just it was series 2, 3, 4 the specials. It wasn't, because alongside that you also had these very cool comic relief stuff going on. So you had the Sarah Jane Adventures, the mini episode that went out for comic relief between the Next Doctor and the Planet of the Dead, which was From Raxacora Falapatorius with Love, which is very cool. Then you had Tortured Children of Earth. Then you had that very cool, some people think it's cool, that animated stuff, Dreamland. Do you remember that 10th Doctor?
Oh gosh, yeah, the Quest or whatever it's called as well. Yeah. And
then you had the end of
Quest, is it? Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So and then you had I'm going off on tangent here, but then you had the Waters of Mars. Then you had the End of Times Part 1 and 2. Then bang, you were straight into Series 5. Then you had all those mini episodes. So Night of the Doctor, Bad Night, Night in the Doctor, Good Night. Then the Sarah Jane Adventures Series 4. Then A Christmas Carol. Then more comic relief. And then you're into Series 6. So it was actually a very cool string of like very cool little bits that happened over a 2 or 3 year period with that. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it's a lovely little bubble, that bubble of Who.
Very cool. Anyway, Sarah Jane, very cool. Captain Jack, who's at Torchwood at the beginning in the hub. He's with Gwen and Yanto doing their thing. Obviously, they're still in the hub, as obviously this is Series 2-ish. And that all kicks off there. And he is beep scared once he finds out it's the Daleks, right? Because he, like some of the others, he knows straight away. He's like, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do. We're dead. And that's it. And then, kisses them both and that's it. So, and then later on, he does kind of get his hands dirty. He's up there on the ship. He fakes, he purposely gets himself killed so that he can be transported off to another part of the ship to then come back and help and stuff like that. So John Barrowman was pretty cool in this one, actually. He wasn't that over-the-top, cringy, flirty. And even when he was being flirty, it was just more of a comedic kind of, the whole thing, I can't tell you what I'm thinking right now. Sort of line. It was more funny than it was sort of cringy like we've seen in Torchwood and that sort of thing. So I thought he had a good one, John Barrowman.
Yeah, no, he's good in it. I love the bit where Harriet Jones tells him off as well. He's like given up, slumped on the chair, isn't he? And she's like, "Shame on you, Captain Jack. Get over here. Pull yourself together, man." So yeah, that was a nice scene. He's good in it. And obviously, when he gets shot by the Dalek, Rose thinks he's dead. She's really concerned, and the Doctor's just like, "Don't worry about it." I thought there was a scene where she was shocked that he came back alive, but I must be thinking of something else. Was there, because he does come back alive, obviously, but was there a bit where she was shocked or not? I can't remember.
Who sorry?
Rose. Because she's shocked that she obviously doesn't know that he can come back alive.
Oh, right.
So she's really worried about him, and the Doctor's just like, it's fine, just leave him.
I can't remember, actually.
I thought there was a bit where she was like, "Oh, gee, you're back," but I might be getting mixed up.
I can't remember.
But anyway, yes, he's good at it, yeah. Yeah,
he is good. And what about... before we get on to Rose, actually, what about Freema Agyeman then? So Martha Jones, she has a fairly meaty role in this one. She's much to the annoyance of Rose. And because we had that bit, don't we? We'll come on to Rose, but we have a little bit of series 1 Rose, don't we? Where it's like, hold on, I was here first. What about me? She's, a little bit, but for the most part, Martha has a pretty decent role because she's now working for units. She's pretty high up there, and it gets put upon her to use the teleport thing, and she goes off. But she's also been given the Osterhagen key, which I think is just a device where a few other people have also got one, and in agreement, they fire it up and it rips the Earth apart. So if there is any alien threat, then it's a way of basically sacrificing the Earth so that whoever it is cannot get access to it. And that kind of leads into that bit at the end where they need all 27 planets in alignment to fire off the reality bomb. So Martha's like, it's either, you let everyone go, or, we destroy the Earth, your sort of thing. So, but Freema, she had a good one. She had, a lot of people don't really mention Freema high up in their lists as the fave companion, but I liked her in this. I think she had a really good one.
Yeah, I think Martha's a very underrated companion. I think she's a great companion, actually. And yeah, she gets a good role in this one with the Osterhagen key. Is that how you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, no, I think she gives a good performance, and it's a good it's a good part of the story for her when she goes to Germany and stuff like that. And the fact that we think that she's a goner halfway through the story, like Jack says, don't use it, and it's like, oh no, she's just going to be a load of old atoms floating through space now. And it turns out that she has actually made it to the other side. So yeah, it's a good role for her. Clearly she was going to go on to being Torchwood. You get that line at the end where Jack says, why don't you leave Unit? I hear Unit's old news now, come and join Torchwood. And that was going to be a thing, wasn't it? I think Freema was supposed to be in either Series 2 or Children of Earth. Children of Earth, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
And then backed out and went and filmed something for ITV instead. But yeah, that's a shame, because she would have fitted into Torchwood really, really well. It must have been Children of Earth, I think, because that must be when we lost a few cast members. Yeah. Yep. She would have fitted in brilliantly in that. Mm-hmm. But yes, it's nice. It's nice to see her getting such a good role in this. I think she does it really well, actually. Yeah,
I think Gwen mentions Tosh and Owen as well.
She does,
yeah. Which is nice. Yeah, and So Freema's she's very good in this. I think she just had a bit of an up and down period with the Doctor when in Series 2, wasn't it? Was it Series 2? Was her series?
Series 3.
3, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, because it was still Rose, wasn't it? Yeah. So in Series 3, she I just think some of the episodes I think they tried to emulate what was going on with Rose in that she likes the Doctor, and but then they ditched that a little bit, but they went back to it and stuff. So it was kind of a wee bit up and down. But overall, I think she's a very good companion, and she was good in this. I think, especially when she's really tearing herself up whether to use the teleportation thing, and Jack screaming at her like, "Don't do it," and they all think she's dead because this thing hasn't been tested yet, and she goes and uses it anyway, and she ends up at her mum's house, which is really nice. So yeah, some really nice scenes basically where she knows the gravity of what's going on, and yeah, she was good.
Yeah.
What about Jackie Tyler and Mickey? Because those two are kind of in cahoots. They're sort of thick as thieves in this one, and because Mickey's obviously from the alternate universe at this point. So in the alternate universe, he's been with his nan, but now she's passed away, and so he's doing his thing with this, and he goes off back in this universe, in this world, to sort of start his life again. But some really nice scenes with Jackie. You can tell those two are really close. They had some nice scenes.
Yeah, no, it's funny because they pop up at the start of, is it the end of episode 1 or beginning of episode 2? It's part of the wrap up of the cliffhanger, isn't it? That they suddenly appear and you think, oh gosh, more people that we're going to have in the story. But yeah, they get a little bit to do. The bit in the Dalek spaceship is quite cool when they're nearly vaporized or whatever. Yeah, no, they're cool in it. I just want to quickly ask you, actually, what did you think of the cliffhanger wrap up? So we get that amazing cliffhanger, and then, I mean, when episode 2 starts, I guess it kind of just wants to get on with the story. So it wraps up the sort of 2 or 3, because you get sort of 2 or 3 cliffhanger, really, don't you? Get the Doctor regenerating, Sarah Jane about to be exterminated, Torchwood about to be blown up by a Dalek. It does kind of wrap those up very quickly with Mickey and Jackie appearing and stuff, and then it's all kind of wrapped up in a couple of minutes, and then we get on with the story. But what did you think of the conclusion to the cliffhangers? Do you think it was right to do that, just to quickly get those out the way and let's get on with the story, or were you a bit disappointed? Because the whole hand thing, I'm still not too sure about the whole throwing his regeneration thing into the hand. It's a little bit convenient, but it works, doesn't it? But I'm still not 100% sure about that, if I'm absolutely honest. And we'll get onto the Meta-Crisis Doctor in a minute, because I have some thoughts on that. But yeah, what do you think to the cliffhanger resolution, though?
Yeah, it was okay, actually. I honestly didn't mind it, because it's one of those things that you thought, oh, that's very cool. They've used this thing from way back in series 2. And the Doctor, we do get a little bit of Jodie-esque kind of exposition going on there with the Doctor. It's like, oh, do you remember back in that episode with the Sycorax where I lost my hand and now it's back and all that stuff. So I didn't mind that too much, because a lot of time had passed at this point. So for viewers who are new to Doctor Who at that point, it was a little. And let's be honest, it was only literally 10 seconds of exposition. It was just reminded me of some of the Jodie scenes that we've seen of late. But I didn't
ask you though, when you were watching this for the first time, how did you think this was gonna, like, what were your thoughts when you watched that cliffhanger for the first time? Did you know what was going to happen in the next one?
Well,
or were you surprised, or
I didn't know.
What was going through your head?
It was weird, because I had gone back and watched that series while Matt Smith stuff was going on.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, I already knew that David Tennant had regenerated into Matt Smith. But I knew that there were David Tennant episodes in between that. So my mind was frazzled for a bit, because I thought, well, surely he can't regenerate now. And if he does, they're going to bring him back, because there are other David Tennant episodes after this. So he can't be going, but he is regenerating. So I just wide-eyed at the I remember just my eyes being really wide, thinking, beep, like what's going on? Like there must, in my head, I didn't realise that, or I didn't expect anyway, that he had channeled all the regeneration energy into the hand. I'd had this convoluted idea in my head that he had regenerated into somebody or something, but then the companions would figure out a way to get him back. Right. That's what was going through my head, if I remember correctly at the time. But in terms of resolving that cliffhanger speedily, just to get back on track with the story and stuff, I didn't mind it, mate. I didn't mind it because, as I mentioned earlier, the pacing for me was really good. I think if you lingered on that bit too much, then it would have just overshadowed the cool stuff that was round the corner that was going to come up, which was the Meta-Crisis stuff. So let's get on to that then, because I know you got some thoughts on the cloned Doctor, as I guess the best way to put it. Just
before you quickly do that, I just wanted to say I wondered how many people, picked up on the hand. That's what intrigued me, because I was wondering whether, because you get a shot of it at the start of the episode, which I now think is a big hint, but I wonder how many people actually picked up on the hand being there and thought, I wonder how many people guessed that's what he was going to do, because I'd like to bet not many people did, but that's why I asked you. I thought, I wonder if you saw the hand at the start and thought, no, I know what's going to happen. But
No,
I don't think many people
No.
would have seen that coming.
No.
Come on then, let's go on to the Meta-Crisis Doctor then.
Meta-Crisis. So, on the surface then, a very cool concept, let's be honest. A very, like, if you were to read the script, you think, that sounds awesome. That sounds very cool. And for the most part, it was okay, the whole thing. But I think I know where you're going to go with this. Did you just feel it was a little bit unnecessary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't really like the idea of it. And Rose seems so ungrateful. The Doctor's like, I'm giving you some. I mean, the Meta-Crisis Doctor doesn't even seem to get a say in it. The Doctor's just like, I'm giving you someone that looks like me, he acts like me. And Rose is still like, won't even look at him. She's just looking at the real Doctor. And I don't know. I think he maybe should have had a limited lifespan of,
He does
now
though, doesn't
that
he?
I only live a couple of hours because I'm a
hours.
Meta-Crisis Doctor. Yeah,
Right.
I don't like the thought that there's another Doctor out there. Although he's only got one heart and he'll grow old and all that stuff. I noticed on Twitter recently someone posted a deleted scene which I'd never seen before. Thank God it was cut. the Doctor gives Rose a piece of TARDIS on the beach and says, "Oh, here, go and grow yourself a TARDIS." I'm like, "Oh dear me." So I'm a little uncomfortable with the Metacrisis Doctor. I kind of hope it never gets mentioned again. I'm absolutely dreading that the Doctor coming back as the 14th is going to somehow be related to the Metacrisis Doctor. I don't think it will be, but it was one of those rumours thrown out there. It's the Metacrisis Doctor, he's back. Oh no, I really don't want that. But the whole thing just is a bit uncomfortable. It should have just been Donna. I mean, she should have just got the energy from the thing, became intelligent, the Dr. Donna, and I don't think it needed this naked Metacrisis Doctor to pop up. It didn't really work for me personally, I'm afraid.
That's probably who it's going to be.
No, don't say that. I couldn't. No. No.
So the thing, right? So that deleted scene, it was a thing where the original Doctor had said, this is on the beach, listener, if you've not seen it.
Yeah.
So on the beach at Bad Wolf Bay at the end. So this was kind of a revisit, right, to the end of series 2. Was the end of series 2 that finale where Rose?
Yeah, it must be. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, that Rose gets stranded in this alternate dimension, and
how was that sentence going to end?
Yeah,
it was going to end with
bugger
off.
So we're back on this thing, and Rose can kind of see what's going on. She knows what's coming up. She knows that the original Doctor with Donna, they're both going to leave her, and you nailed it, mate. Where the Metacrisis Doctor, you kind of feel a little bit sorry for him because he's just basically been auctioned off for free by the Doctor, and he's like, well, this chap's going to stay with you, and in his head he's probably thinking, well, hold on a minute.
Yeah,
I am my own person here. I'm not a Time Lord fully.
I'm not a piece of meat.
Yeah, I'm half Time Lord, half human. I've got a brain as well, and I can do what I want. But so that was kind of weird to me. I didn't really mind it overall. It doesn't keep me up at night. But that whole thing at the end with the beach scene and basically him just being farmed off to Rose as a bit of a spare part. That irks me a wee bit. But yeah, that deleted scene. Basically, the original Doctor gives Rose a piece of the TARDIS somehow and basically says, go and grow your own TARDIS, basically go and make your own TARDIS, because the Metacrisis Doctor then says, well, that's not going to work because I've just told you that I'm going to age like a human along with Rose. But in order to do that, it takes thousands of years to grow. I don't know what this growing your TARDIS thing is. No. And then basically the Donna then says, look, I've got a much faster solution for you. So you and Rose can go and travel through space and time as you should be, quote unquote. So that's the scene, which is a bit cringy, to be honest with you. And now that I've just said it, that 14th Doctor is going to be the Metacrisis Doctor, isn't it? Because mate, the Dr. Donna had basically given them instructions on how to like fast track and get the TARDIS up and running. So those two are off doing their thing. So that's him back. Anyway, there was another couple of scenes, dude, that were cut, that were included as special features on the Series 4.
Oh.
So at the very end, it was written in and filmed actually that Donna, when she's on the phone to her mate or something, when she's got her memory wiped, which is so sad, that whole scene will come on to that.
Yeah.
She's meant to hear the TARDIS dematerialize, and she has this kind of look of realization or recognition on her face. She kind of recognizes it a little bit, but then Julie Gardner stepped in and said, you need to cut that because we've literally just gone through this heartbreaking scene where they've been told that if she remembers anything about it, then her mind will just burn out.
Burn up.
So she's like, we can't have her even subtly recognizing the sound of the TARDIS because then that's going to... But they did film it, so that was cut.
Oh, right.
And then the other one was the other scene that was meant to be the original ending for it is after the Doctor says goodbye to Wilf, goes into the TARDIS. He sees something weird on the scanner, which when they filmed it, David Tennant did the whole what, all that what stuff.
Yeah.
And then after that, two Cybermen materialise behind him in the TARDIS. And then that was going to be a cliffhanger. So the Pete's World Cybermen from the next Doctor, all that stuff, they were going to materialise in the TARDIS behind him, and then it was going to cut, and that was going to be the cliffhanger. But they dropped it because it was a weird shift in emotional feeling from what you'd just watched. So you'd just watched Donna have her memory wiped. It's cut the Doctor up. Wilf knows it's awful because he feels that she should be travelling with the Doctor, and it's all emotional. And then to suddenly just flick to the Doctor doing the comedic what stuff. So that was cut as well.
I'm kind of glad it was. I mean, it's a strange ending to this one, and it's weird because as we were getting to the end and the Doctor goes to the TARDIS, you're waiting for something to happen, aren't you? Like, like the Titanic bursting through the TARDIS walls, or Donna appearing in the... You're waiting for the next cliffhanger, and we don't get anything. It's just the Doctor looking really sad, and it ends. And it is quite a downbeat ending, really. I mean, I guess it has to be, but... Yeah, well, that whole time, even though I know it's coming, I'm sort of waiting for something to happen. So I wouldn't have been surprised if the Cybermen had burst in, but I'm kind of glad they didn't do that. I think all of those scenes were rightly cut, to be honest. I particularly don't like the Grow in the TARDIS one, so
yeah, same.
I think they made the right call to cut them.
That's him, though, bud. Sorry.
No,
Meta Crisis 14th.
I won't have it.
Adam's like, no, please don't. I'm not going to have it.
Well, I'm not now thinking as well because he can die, and that way he can have a short lifespan and turn into shoot his Doctor. I'm like, oh no, it's all coming together.
Oh no,
oh no.
Anyway,
Russell, surely not.
Anyway, we'll go to the bookies on that one. What do you think to Catherine Tate then, as Donna, and then Dr. Donna, and then Donna again?
I honestly think she's fantastic in this episode. She really pulls at my heartstrings, and she just acts so well. It's the most heartbreaking exit as well. It so much so that I'm so conflicted every time I watch it because I love it and I hate it at the same time. I hate what happens to Donna, but I think it's very powerful. So I do love her exit, and I do particularly love the scene of the Doctor sat talking to Wilf and Donna's mum, because especially the bit where he's like, why don't you tell her sometime? Like the Doctor finally snaps, and she's, it's a brilliant scene. We haven't mentioned Bernard Crimmins at all, but he is absolutely fantastic in the scenes he's in. Actually, both Wilf and whatever Donna's mum's called,
Sylvia.
Yep. They are so good together, those two. They're like, they only get little scenes here and there and now, but they're brilliant together. But yes, I love that scene, and it's heartbreaking. The bit where Donna is realizing what's happening when she's going binary. I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine. The fact that she knows what's coming and the Doctor knows, it breaks my heart every time I watch it. It's the music, it's the performance. Catherine's brilliant in it, mate. There are so many good scenes of her. She does the comedy brilliantly. She does the seriousness brilliantly. I honestly, the whole time I was watching this, I just kept thinking, I can't wait to see these two back together again next year. I cannot wait to see the Doctor and Donna back together, because for me, they are absolutely peak Doctor Who.
Yeah.
She hits every nail on the head. She's just brilliant in it, mate. But what heartbreaking. What Russell, you must have been when he was writing this. I mean, it is harsh. It is so harsh. The fact that she saved all these people and she'll never remember any of it, and she just goes back to being like Donna in the kitchen on the phone to Neris, is it? I can't remember.
I think it's Neris. Yeah,
Neris on the phone. She's like, whatever, and she's laughing, and she doesn't pay any attention to the Doctor. It's it's heartbreaking, but it's a very powerful exit for her.
It is, yeah. And what a range, though, from Catherine Tate in this one.
Amazing.
She goes from real empathy for the Doctor when he realises, because Rose is on his mind, he's thinking about Rose, and she's really empathetic to him. She's like, well, Doctor, it's good news, isn't it, that Rose is back, and all the rest of it. And that scene that we mentioned earlier, when they're out in the street and she's why don't you tell her yourself? And then that piano piece, that Rose's theme that Murray wrote years before, just so good. So she's really good, but that's heartbreaking, that scene, because in the TARDIS where she knows that her mind's breaking down and she's fighting it, but she knows that the Doctor's going to have to do it, otherwise she's going to die. But it just gets killing her. And the doctor's face, he also knows that this has got to be done. Otherwise she won't survive. And that scene as well. I think the best bit of acting from her is going from that scene in the TARDIS where she's crying her eyes out and she knows it's coming, to then flicking back to the Donna that's never met the Doctor. And she's just having a laugh on the phone. She comes in and she almost blanks him. So all the stuff that they've been through and all the things that they've done, and like the Doctor said to Wilf and Sylvie, it's like there's loads of planets out there that will remember her name because she saved them and all that. So then her just coming in, she's like, all right. And then just, it's heartbreaking, but so well written. And she plays that brilliant, like so good. She's so good, mate. Yeah.
I just love all the scenes as well where you just keep hearing the heartbeat. And I remember the first time I watched it thinking, what is going on? What's going on with Donna? Like, what's she going to turn out to be? You know, amazing. Again, my memory, you know, being rubbish. Do they slightly undo this later on? Does Donna pop back up in another episode? I'm sure there's a bit where she comes back and she's like, oh, what, you didn't think I'd have a backup? Something in my mind. What am I thinking of? Or am I just imagining that?
What are you thinking of?
I don't know. Does she come back? Or am I going completely doolally?
As in, does Donna Noble come back?
Yeah. I just got this scene in my head where she sort of pops back up in an alleyway and says, you know, of course I remember, like I wouldn't have a backup thing in my brain or something. What am I thinking of? Or am I just mad? I could be just mad.
It rings a bell, but I can't...
Does she come back? Well, while we think on that, I'll just quickly say this as well. That scene where her and the Doctor come out in the Shadow Proclamation, where the Doctor starts talking Jadoon, he's going, vol, mol, fol.
Yeah.
I was watching her face and I was thinking, I bet there are so many outtakes. So that scene, she looks like she is trying so hard not to laugh at Tennant doing the Jadoon speak. I would love to see some outtakes from these two. They must be out there somewhere. Are you still looking for the Donna bit?
Yeah.
I can't think what I'm thinking of. Somebody out there will know, or they'll just be saying, Adam, you've lost the plot. But somebody will know.
She's in the end of time.
She's in the end of time.
Come on. Let's get the old brain cells kicking back into life a little bit.
That's the only bit I can remember is that scene, thinking, I'm sure she does somehow remember later on in the series, but I can't remember how or why. Don't worry, somebody out there will know, and we'll probably get to it. We must have reviewed End of Time.
Of course she's in the End of Time, dude, because at the very end, the Doctor turns up on her wedding day and gives Wilf and her mum the lottery ticket.
Yes.
Jesus Christ, yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I knew there was something. I was thinking, I knew it's in the last one. Yeah, because Wilf gives him the salute, and of course.
Yes, so early on in the End of Time, what is it? Anyway,
this is where the listeners are screaming at us.
I guarantee that, listener, right now you are absolutely screaming at us, going, "You idiots!" It's this bit, but yeah, she's in that. She's in the End of Time. Yeah.
I knew we hadn't seen the last of it. Yeah. I was going to say, but it's a great exit. Anyway, let's just wrap up with that.
Okay, yeah, cool. And lastly, then, Mr. Tennant as the Doctor, and then a little bit with we've spoken about a Mental Crisis Doctor, but has the Doctor. Kind of, would you say peak David Tennant in this, or are there better stories for you?
For me, there's better stories. Okay. I do think he's great in it. For me, peak Tennant is Waters of Mars. I just think he blows me away in that story. That's not to say he's not fantastic in this, because he is. If I had one minor criticism, mate, is I'm going to put this more down to the direction actually than anything, is I feel like he's almost trying just a little bit too hard at times. It's very shouty in places, but I just feel that's the Doctor saying, right, come on, get the energy up, this is happening, Daleks, blah blah blah, go. You know what I mean? I can just feel that they're trying to keep the momentum going, keep the energy up, and I feel it's just a notch above what it should be every now and again from him, but it's still a great performance. And as with most Doctors, and it's a personal preference, I just prefer the quieter moments, like rather than the shouty, screaming sort of moments. I prefer it when I see the actor using their face to convey expression, like that scene where the Doctor is broken, thinking about the people he's lost. So that those, for me, I just look at David and think, wow, he's doing it all with his face. He's doing it all with emotion. He doesn't even have to say anything. I can sense what the Doctor is feeling just from that. So in those scenes and stuff, I think he's absolutely fantastic, and the comedy scenes are great. He works so well with Catherine. They're phenomenal together. The scene at the end when he has to wipe Donna's memory is heartbreaking, and he acts off the screen. You know what I mean? He's brilliant. So no real criticisms about David. It just, if I had to be really, really picky, I'd say there are a couple of times where it's a little bit shouty, and I just wished he'd toned it down a notch. But yeah. So not peak for me, but still, phenomenal.
Yes. In The End of Time, by the way. Yeah. Because that's annoyed me.
I knew it would.
If just a very quick recap, so you'll remember the Master has developed this thing called the Gate, and when he activates it, everybody in the world turns into the Master. Remember?
Yeah. So
the only people who are unaffected by it are Wilf, because he's inside the control room at that point, at part 1, when the Master activates the Gate, and Donna, due to her Time Lord biological traits from her previous adventures. Yeah. But when that happens, she then starts to remember everything with the Doctor and everything. But, and this is a bit of a big reset button, but when the Doctor did wipe her memory, he also implemented a failsafe, which stuns her and then several of the other doppelgangers of the Master in the vicinity. But then that wipes her memory again. So she remembers for a short time, and her mind starts to go, a little bit mad. But then the fail-safe kicks in, and then she forgets about the Doctor again, and then we don't see her again until the end at the wedding. I believe. Yeah.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because it was bugging me the whole way through. I was thinking, I'm sure we see her again.
Yeah,
That's a lovely scene with the wedding, by the way.
Yeah, and we have that effect in the End of Time where everyone's face starts to whiz back and forward really quickly, and then they turn into John Sim. Yeah. Okie dokie. So I've got nothing on my notes other than I love the different music cues that were brought back throughout this. So Murray Gold's music has a slight flavours of Torchwood when needed, obviously, with those guys. It has Rose's theme from the original stuff from 2005, which was lovely, and just some really good emotional / heartstringy pulley stuff, and then the action stuff as well. So really good Murray Gold stuff. And I also liked the little bit at the Shadow Proclamation. I think that was a nice little sort of Doctor's got no other option than to go there. And they want to capture him, obviously, and he does the off. He's like, I just need to go and get the key.
yeah, that's right.
You knew he was going to bugger off. So other than that, dude, nothing on my notes. Have you got anything else?
No, I've just got Clom written down. Clom. And Poosh. The only other thing I've got is actually a negative, and I don't want to end on a negative, but it was the only sort of thing I didn't particularly like in this was the way Rose was written, especially when she was being all, I was here first, why can't you hear me? She was written to be a bit annoying in this, which is a shame, because she starts off really strong and she appears with a big gun and she's walking around Cardiff. She looks absolutely kick-ass.
You like my gun?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you going to steal that TV? Sure. So I thought that was all great, but when they started doing all the whole getting jealous and why can't he see me, and as I said, the bit at the end as well, like, well, how was that sentence going to end? I was like, oh dear. Yeah. So that's my only real nitpick from the episode, really, which is just the way that she was written. Nothing to do with Billy's performance. I think she was great, but I would have liked to have seen more of the kick-ass Rose than the whiny, needy Rose, if I'm honest. But anyway, the Doctor manages to get rid of her again, so it's all good.
Get shot of Rose and then
he does.
We're off. I agree as well. Billy's performance was very good as Rose as usual, but written just a little a wee bit whiny,
jealous stuff. Yeah. It was the bit which goes, I was here first. It's very childish, and I'm like, oh, Rose is way past that at this point, surely, because she's doing all this saving the world stuff. So come on, let's get rid of that. Yeah,
and also I think you can, in a way, you can kind of see why she's like that, because from her point of view, she's put in all this effort to come over from this parallel dimension to help out and do all that stuff, and then when she gets here, nobody knows where she is, or some of these people don't even know who she is, so she's probably feeling a little bit shortchanged after making all the effort. But there we go.
That's fair enough. Actually, dude, there is one more note I've got at the bottom, which is just, I do love the scene at the end where they're all flying the TARDIS. It's such a nice bit of writing that it's got 6 sides of the consoles, because really it needs more people to fly it, and they all get their own bit to do apart from poor old Jackie. The Doctor's just like, no, Jackie, not you.
Not you.
Yeah. They even roll out K9 as well, don't they? And I bet I can imagine Russell writing that, thinking, yeah, just getting to the end. Oh, I know, we'll just add in one more thing, K9, and that's a lovely shout moment. But yeah, that scene at the end, dude, around the console, that's lovely, isn't it? With all the companions, like you said, all the Doctor's friends with him, operating the TARDIS. It's a lovely moment. I know people have a problem with the TARDIS being able to pull the Earth back into position. I know, I get it, but come on, let's just let's just get over it and enjoy the moment.
Exactly, yeah, and that's what we were saying earlier, that it's not perfect, and it does have various moments where it's a little bit, it's a bit weird, a bit convenient that somehow they've managed to work out how to tow the Earth back. And if you can imagine the Earth being pulled through space and rotating like that, then, because it's really cool that you see like Martha's mum under the table and someone's holding on to something, and it'd be a lot worse than that, but you have to sort of suspend your belief a little bit and just go with that. But the music's lovely as well at that point. It's a real lovely, heartwarming, cool. And that also, just lastly, that really does heighten the emotion at the end when the Doctor's saying goodbye to Wilf, and Wilf actually says to him, "What about you now? All your friends are gone. They've all left you." So you go from this moment a few minutes prior where he's got all of his companions and friends around him to now him being alone again. So that kind of that question and answer bit of storytelling where, Wilf's like, "Well, what are you going to do now?" And he's like, "Oh, they don't need me," and he's off. So yeah, this is where Russell shines, isn't it? Where he can write something that at that point you're watching it and it's just a feel-good moment. All his friends are around him. And then on reflection, once you've watched it a few times and then you're talking about it like we are, it's like, a few minutes later, it kind of really emphasises the fact that the Doctor's now alone. And then that feeds into the kind of darker bit of the Doctor leading into the specials. So Russell really shines with that stuff. He's just so good at that style of story writing. Yeah.
Absolutely, mate. It's a roller coaster of a two-parter, isn't it? You've got action, you've got emotion, you've got comedy. It's got everything in it, I think. Yeah. I think it's me to go first with scores, Steve. It is.
I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 9 because it's just mega enjoyable, dude. It's so enjoyable to watch from start to finish. And even though the runtime is long, it whizzed by for me. Like literally, that 45 minutes in part 1 felt like 20 minutes to me. Yeah. And then in episode 2, it felt like I was watching something half the time. And then before you know it, he's off in his TARDIS at the end. And it's an emotional story to watch. It was brilliantly acted by most of them and brilliantly written, mate. So yeah, for me, it was a really enjoyable watch. I love this one.
Yeah, I concur, mate. It's a great season finale. And I'm slightly under 9. I'm going to give it an 8.5, and I'm only knocking off points really for whiny old Rose. Although I loved the fact that Donna saves the day. I think it's great that she's knows how to do all this stuff. I love the scene. I don't like the execution. I don't like the fact she's conveniently at the controls and flips some weird handles and everything's the Daleks are going. So there's a couple of little bits that aren't perfect in it, but overall it's a great two-parter. So many lovely moments that I look forward to seeing every time I watch it, and I think it's a slightly overlooked two-parter as well. I think it's one that sort of gets a bit forgotten about. I don't know why, because it's got so much going for it. So yeah, not quite a 9 for me, mate, but a very strong 8.5.
Gotcha. Okie dokie. So what did our listeners think then? Over on the Twitter, Will Sanger said, "This one is so much fun. The plot falls apart if you examine it too carefully, but it's great to see so many characters and companions all together. It's all the more rewarding if you've seen the spin-offs also, and Donna's exit is incredibly tragic and impactful." TBLW, Toku Blue Hoovian says, "I'd improve it by centering the story on the arc of the 10th Doctor and Donna meeting again, or Sarah Jane and the Doctor's history with Davros. Also, I'd get rid of the unnecessary companions. Rose, Mickey, Jack, Martha, the Tylers, so all of them then, TBLW. But he does give it an 8 out of 10, so solid score there. Chippy T, fabulous episode, structurally excellent with high tempo, high passion sections, then lower tempo and quieter parts with the extended Who family and links to previous eps. This is a great way to spend 90 minutes. Only fault, towing a planet. RTD is sublime best, 9.5.
Yeah.
Owen, Doctor Who Holmes says, it's amazing how choppy the Stolen Earth is, yet it doesn't feel rushed. No plot is sidelined. A masterful piece of writing. Journey's End does have a hard job. I think it delivers. It stumbles just at the end with the Dalek defeat, but overall it's emotional and thrilling. 8 out of 10.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
Tom, Titan Sci-Fi says, still the best season finale for me. All the fam coming together. 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Nice. Rob Kelly says this is really one of those blockbuster stories that really has it all. Highs, lows and everything in between. Doctor Who is most popular, engaging and successful. And lastly on Twitter, Jacob says one of the best stories ever. The Avengers before the Avengers became a thing. Brought together so many great characters and had so many sad endings. A 10 out of 10.
10, okay.
10. Thank you very much, you guys, over on the Twitter. On Facebook, we had James Walsh, who says, a big fan, pleasing two-parter. However, on multiple watches, it becomes more and more ridiculous. All the ex-companions try and outdo each other with various weapons of mass destruction. Davros's plan is stupid. Why would the Daleks agree to this? And Rose's ending completely undoes her sad ending in season 2 and makes her look even more shallow. I give it 4 MacGuffin weapons of mass destruction out of 10.
Fair enough.
James. Toby Coleman says, some people say this is Doctor Who's Infinity War / Endgame. I can see why it has a huge episode. I can see why, as it is a huge episode that wraps up nearly everything from the RTD1 era in one thrilling, huge adventure. It is a spectacle of the highest level, and whether the story holds up, it really doesn't matter. And Toby goes on to give it a 9.5.
Okay.
Our writer Maria has popped up on the Facebook and says the Stolen Earth is one of my fave episodes ever. Starts to bring all the threads together of missing planets. Only bit I didn't like was how easily Dr. Donna defeated the Daleks at the end. And the Clone Doctor is a bittersweet consolation prize for Rose. Although everything being in the TARDIS gives you such a warm feeling, and then you get the loss of Donna, RTD knows how to pull your heartstrings.
He definitely does.
Yes. Charlie Turner, perhaps to be the biggest story of the modern series thus far. I consider it to be a fun two-parter with some great Dalek action, along with an almost top-notch performance by Julian Bleach, who makes a fantastic Davros. Personally, the ending is to it beyond devastating. The Stolen Earth gets a 10 out of 10, and Journey's End 9 to overall a 9.5.
Nice, okay.
Another one of our writers, Harry, keeps it short and sweet and says, absolutely mind-blowing finale, love, love, love it. And lastly, Sean Mundy says, I love this two-parter. The whole team up is great. It feels like the first Avengers film at the end of phase 1, meeting all the characters in different series and shows, and then all flying the TARDIS is great. Yes, it's cheesy and probably has plot holes, but it always makes me smile. For the fun I have every time I watch it, I can't give it any less than a 10 out of 10.
Wow, 10.
Very good. And then over on a Discord server, Dalek Rex 36377 says, in a word, awesome, 10 out of 10. So some high scores there, bud.
Some very high scores. I'm glad, as I said, because it doesn't get talked about much, I'm glad to hear people like this one. I was just curious what ratings it got as well. And these were high, mate. I mean, we were at the 12 million. 10 million overnights for these. For both parts, and around, by the time they added stuff on, over 12 million people watching this back in the day. That is quite something, isn't it?
That's a big old.
That is, I mean, that's, which is good, because I think, when you get a story this epic, it's nice to know that it was, rated highly, if you like.
It's a big old number, isn't it? 10 million and then 12 million. That's...
I was just trying to find the exact figures, but it was on Wiki, it says 12 million with the add-ons and whatever, but that's really cool, isn't it?
It's very cool, mate. I love that. All rightio then. So that was this one, a 9 from me and an 8.5 from him. Thank you very much to all of you that sent in your reviews, etc. Next week, buddy, what we got?
So we'll be back to Miracle Day, Torchwood next week, and this episode's called The Gathering. This is episode 9, isn't it?
Yes.
So we got this one and one more to go. So episode 9, we will be expecting things to be really ramping up now with only 2 episodes left. Come on, this has got to start kicking in. Surely.
Surely to God, come on.
Surely to God. Anyway, yes. So The Gathering next week, Torchwood.
Indeedy. Right. And I think on that note, Bud, we'll wrap there. We'll wrap there for 367.
Alrighty.
I was jumping around a lot there. I think I'm going more in on it than Adam because he's...
I'm still reading Wiki. Sorry, I was still reading the ratings on Wiki. There you go. I've shut the page now. I can see you again.
There we go.
Were you going mad, were you?
I was a little bit.
Having a little boogie.
Grooving, yeah. Thank you very much for listening to episode 367. It was great to have you here. New time listeners, if this is the first time you're listening to the Big Blue Box, then welcome. It's great to have you. Old timers, the grizzled ancients, welcome back. It's great to have you all here. Make sure you're subscribing to the podcast. Wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us on all those popular apps, or head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to everything for free on there as well. Plus, you can read all the reviews and articles from the writing team over there too. We're on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Links are on the website. Come and give us a like and a follow. We chat Doctor Who throughout the week. And we have an amazing free Discord server. The link is on the website. Come and hang out and chat everything to do with Doctor Who in our Discord server. It's very cool. Also, check out Adam's channel over on YouTube. It is, of course, The Geek's Handbag.
The Geek's Handbag, yeah. Go check out my channel. Lots of Doctor Who vids. Also on the socials. Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Twitter's still alive. Still alive, is it? Just checking.
Just about.
Yeah, it's still alive.
Yep.
Still got a pulse.
So go and check out Adam's stuff. It's The Geek's Handbag. Go and do that. So get your iPlayer or your DVDs fired up. So Miracle Day, The Gathering. We'll expect your reviews as always. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember...